They say you can feel it in your bones when someone stops loving you. I didn't want to believe it. I kept telling myself he was just tired, overworked, or maybe going through something he didn't want to talk about. But the truth is Rag hadn't looked at me the same in months. His touches had grown colder, his silences longer. The man who used to wake me with kisses and whisper secrets into my ear at midnight had become a stranger sleeping beside me. Still, I held on, because that's what you do when you love someone. You hold on, even when your hands start bleeding. But that night, everything finally snapped. It was a Thursday. Just another ordinary evening, or at least I thought so. I had cooked his favorite, dal makhani and jeera rice. I even lit the scented candles he used to love. He barely glanced at the table as he walked in, dumped his keys in the bowl, and sank into the couch like a man carrying the weight of 100 decisions. Raghav, I said gently, placing the plates on the table. Dinner's ready. He didn't move, didn't even blink. Just stared at the dark television screen like it held the answers to a question he was too afraid to ask. I sat across from him, heart pounding, and then he said it. I found someone new. The words didn't hit all at once. They hung in the air, slow and deliberate, like raindrops before a storm. For a second, I just stared at him. I thought maybe I'd misheard, or maybe he was joking, but his face was flat, expressionless. I don't feel the same anymore, he added, like he was canceling a subscription. No apology, no guilt, just indifference. It was almost laughable. After everything we'd been through, he ended it like this. I felt something inside me shift, not anger, not sadness, just silence. A deep, echoing stillness that wrapped around my spine like steel. I stood up slowly, walked to the drawer by the bookshelf, and pulled out a sealed envelope. It had been sitting there for 3 weeks, waiting. I walked over and placed it on the coffee table in front of him. "What's this?" he asked, frowning. "Something for you," I said quietly. "Read it before you leave." His eyes narrowed, curious now, but I didn't wait for a response. I walked away, past our photos, past the dying flowers in the vase, past the ghost of the woman I used to be. Let him think he ended this. He had no idea what I'd written. Raghav stared at the envelope like it might explode in his hands. It was sealed neatly, his name written across the front in Anya's careful handwriting. Not Raghav darling, not to my husband, just Raghav. A stranger's name. He waited until she had walked out of the room, no words, no drama, no accusations. That somehow made him more uneasy than any screaming match ever could have. The silence she left behind was louder than anything he'd ever heard. With a frown, he tore open the envelope. Inside was a letter, a few pages handwritten, no rush in the strokes. A calm storm, the first line stopped him cold. I already know. He froze, she knew. He kept reading, heart pounding now, each line sinking deeper into his chest like a weight he couldn't shake off. You thought I wouldn't notice the late night calls, the changed passwords, the phantom perfume on your shirt, but I did. I noticed everything. I just didn't say anything, not because I didn't care, but because I needed to be sure. I watched you fall out of love with me like it was nothing. I cried in the shower so you wouldn't see. I smiled at your excuses even when they tore me apart. But don't mistake my silence for weakness, Raghav. While you were sneaking around, I was preparing. He blinked, preparing. He flipped to the next page. His hands trembled. The house you've been living in. It's mine, purchased in my name, paid in full with the inheritance my father left me. Check the papers. They're in the drawer under the old files. You never cared enough to look there. I have filed for divorce. The papers are included in this envelope. My lawyer, Ania Desai, will contact you tomorrow morning. Don't bother trying to fight it. I've made sure everything is airtight. Fair but final. The air in the room felt thinner. He stood up, then sat down again, as if gravity had grown heavier with every word. She knew everything, and she'd planned this. He had expected Tears, screams, maybe begging. Instead, she had given him a letter that felt like a mirror, showing him everything he was and everything he had thrown away. He kept reading. You broke something in me, Raghav, something innocent and soft, but you also awakened something I didn't know I had: power, clarity, self-respect. You said you found someone new. I found myself, and between your affair and my healing, I think I got the better deal. By the time he reached the last page, his face was pale. I won't curse you. I won't wish you pain. That's not who I am. But I do hope that someday, when the silence around you is too loud, and the woman beside you doesn't laugh at your jokes, or make your coffee the way you like it, you'll remember me. And when you do, I hope it stings, not because I hurt you, but because you realize I never did. Anya, he sat still for a long time. The walls around him felt unfamiliar now. The framed photo of their wedding on the shelf mocked him. Her smile in that picture, so bright, so full of hope, was the same one he had watched disappear over the last few months. Now he understood why. She hadn't just let him go. She had outgrown him. It's funny how grief eventually turns into clarity, how the ache dulls, not because it stops hurting, but because you finally understand that what you were holding on to was already gone. After Raghav left, the house was quiet in a way it hadn't been for months. Not cold, not bitter, just peaceful. I boxed up his things the same night, not out of rage, just necessity. The shirts he left hanging in the wardrobe still smelled faintly of his cologne, and I didn't need ghosts in my closet anymore. The next morning, I emailed the lawyer confirming everything. No hesitation, no second thoughts. That week, I sat in the garden for the first time in months. Watered the plants he said were a waste of time. Cooked meals I liked too spicy for his bland palate. I even reopened the old paint box buried under our storage bench and started painting again. Slowly, my life began to take shape, one day at a time. I thought that was it. That was the end of the story until he called. The first time was 2 weeks after he left. A missed call at 2:13 a.m., then another, then a message, "Can we talk?" Followed by, "I made a mistake," and finally, "Please, Anya." Just once. I never replied, let him sit with the silence. From friends, mutual ones, though fewer now, I heard bits and pieces. The woman he left me for had moved on. Apparently, she wasn't looking for permanence, just a thrill. The thrill wore off, and so did Raghav's appeal. He had moved into a rented apartment, smaller, quieter, colder, the kind of place where echoes follow you. Around one evening, 3 months later, I saw him. I was at a cafe near Lod High Garden, sitting by the window with my sketchbook, doodling with half a smile on my lips. My hair was tied loosely, and I wore the earrings I used to save for special days. That day had felt special, just because I woke up and didn't feel heavy. He walked in alone, ordered black coffee, sat down 2 tables away. I didn't notice him at first, but I felt his stare. When I looked up, our eyes met. Time didn't stop. It didn't rush either, it just settled. He looked older, not in years, but in weight. His eyes were tired. His smile, if you could even call it that, flickered and faded in a second. He didn't say a word, just looked at me like he was waiting for a sign, a nod, a glance, a crumb of kindness he hadn't earned, and I smiled. Not bitterly, not sadly, just peacefully. Then I turned back to my coffee and my sketch. That was all he got. Later that night, I thought about how, months ago, I had once dreamed of growing old with him, of weathering storms together, building a life where our wrinkles would be from laughter and not sorrow. And now I thank him, because he taught me that endings aren't always tragedies. Sometimes they're rebirths. He thought he was replacing me. What he didn't realize was I was removing him. Epilogue, her new beginning. I travel now. I laugh louder. I sleep peacefully. My story didn't end with betrayal, it began with it. And as for Raghav, he'll remember me, not as the woman he left, but as the one who let him go with quiet strength and an envelope that said everything her voice never needed to.